Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good, everybody? We are here, the Boxing Source, checking in for the Boxing Source podcast. We are here February 18th, 2024. Big ups for everybody that's joining in here on the conversation. We got a number of things here we're going to be talking about on this podcast. We had, of course, what happened on Friday night at the theater in Madison Square Garden. I was able to be over there at New York City, taking part of that fight card that was headlined by O'Shaquie Foster versus him before the WBC 130-pound title, the super featherweight title there on the line, for O'Shaquie Foster. It was his second defense of that WBC title. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, what's going on? All right, we got our guy, man, Maurice Jones in the building for Four Corners Boxing, man. Was able to check in. I was able to link up with Maurice and the folks over there at Four Corners Boxing on Friday night, man. We had a gut night of boxing over there at the theater at Madison Square Garden, and we're going to be talking about that. I don't know if my guy Maurice could join in here. I know we usually have our panelists that join in to react to the fights, but we're going to invite some folks to join in on the conversation as well if they're able to check in here to react to what happened there at the Madison Square Garden. I wanted to get right into the joint, man. You know what I'm saying? O'Shaquie Foster versus Abraham Nova, and it looked like that was another road fight for O'Shaquie Foster, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Just put up the link on there, man. Just put up the link for you to be able to jump in, man. So you could jump in and take part in the conversation there. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we got O'Shaquie Foster, like I said, WBC champion. Had his win for the title, a couple fights back. When he was able to defeat Ray Vargas, was vacant title at the time, but he was able to win that fight. Then came back and defended the belt against Eduardo Hernandez in Mexico, where they tried to rob him, but he was able to get a TKO victory. So this was another one where facing Abraham Nova, where Nova, he was on the joint. Of course, Nova is from New York, so you have a lot of those supporters out there from New York City and outside of the New York City area to support Abraham Nova for this bout. And this was Nova's first opportunity there for the world title, this time at super featherweight. Yeah, he lost to Robeisy Ramirez, got stopped by Robeisy Ramirez, but that was at the featherweight division. So he went up to back up to super featherweight. He had been basically a super featherweight for his career, for most of his career. So he, him going down to fight Robeisy Ramirez, I think that was just like something where they say, hey, we're building up Ramirez's record and all that type of stuff. So that's why they kind of like matched Nova up with Robeisy Ramirez. But once he got back to the super featherweight division, he was able to defeat Blue Nose and then had a fight against Jonathan Romero at July. So he was able to get back into the winning column. So they put him right back in a position here for O'Shaquie Foster. And Foster, this was his first fight, under top rank. So he wanted to, make a little bit of an impression there. You know what I'm saying? But big ups, man. We got our guy coming in, checking in here. Of course, y'all know him from Four Corners Boxing, one of the guys out there for Four Corners Boxing, been able to be part of their podcast that they have. Usually they have their 15 rounds of boxing on Wednesday nights, usually after midweek report here on the Boxing Source. So glad to bring on my guy over here, brother Maurice Jones, in the building. What's happening with you?
What's up, champ? What's up, champ? Peace and blessings to you, King. Thank you for allowing me on, man. Shout out to your followers, man, the Boxing Source. If you haven't tuned in, man, tune into my brother, man. He brings good content every single time, man, and he's in tune to this fight game for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Big ups to you, man. Big ups, man. Been a great supporter, here of the Boxing Source, and of course, back to y'all over at Four Corners Boxing. You know what I'm saying? Y'all bring a great show with the 15 rounds of boxing every Wednesday night. Y'all check them out on the Four Corners Boxing YouTube page, man. 15 rounds of boxing, and they got interviews and other takes as well on their channel too. So y'all be sure to check them out. Back to the
Appreciate
thing
it.
on that main event. You was there over at the theater, Madison Square Garden.
Oh
Looking forward
man.
to the main event. And you seen what happened out there, man. You had Abraham Nova. A lot of people were supporting Abraham Nova in the building there. He brought his mascot out there to the ring with him and everything like that. He
Yeah, for
was
sure.
motivated to try to get this win and become a world champion. And then you had, of course, Shaki Foster in another, road trip, basically. Of course, he's, around there in the based in the Houston area and whatnot, but had to, go to other places in order to try to get himself in position to first win a world title and then defend a world title. So this was like his second defense, and he was to, go up against Abraham Nova in a hostile environment, man. And, just going into, those first couple of rounds, you've seen that Abraham Nova was looking like he was doing fairly well in those first couple of rounds. Was able to, land a couple of shots in and wait to see
Absolutely.
what Oshaki Foster was going to do. So what did you think about that first part of the fight, the first few rounds, man?
I think Nova had a good game plan, him and his team. It was to keep Oshaki at a distance. He used his jab. He was using his footwork was really good. He didn't stand there and do what Oshaki likes to do, which is to get in close and make you pay, because he's got a powerful shot. He's got some power behind his punches, and I think Nova fought really, really good the first round. Actually, this was actually one of the best completed fights that I've seen Nova fight in a long time. And I think on Oshaki's side, he's a road warrior, man. This is his second title defense, not in his home, which is Texas, Orange, Texas to be exact. He's down there by the Houston area. The first one he had in Mexico. If fans, if you didn't see that fight, go check that out. Foster versus Hernandez. He fought in Mexico, and he was down on the cards. And that 11th round that they had is actually a fight of the year candidate and a round of the year candidate, because they got a scrap and both guys got knocked down. You thought Oshaki had it. He dropped. Hernandez came back. Hernandez got him, and then he pulled it off in the 12th. It's something about these late rounds, man. Like they say, those championship rounds count. Oshaki is proving it, and he's handling business. He handled business, man.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. He's been able to, go in these tough environments and be able to, pull off the wins and things like that. I think the only thing like even before his fight against Ray Vargas, where he, won the world title, he went up against Yakubov in a basically that was final eliminator, and that was over in Dubai. So he's been, traveling long distances here, man. You've seen him in Dubai. You seen him in like like San Jose, and I ain't talking about like those San Jose in California, man. He's been out there by Costa Rica having fights. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's willing to travel and go to these different places in order to try to get the win and be one of the better fighters there in the division. And he had to do it here once again, even though he was, the defending champion, he was the A side. It was, him, in a hostile environment there against Nova. And yeah, like you were saying, Nova was, doing very well in those first few rounds, very patient, waiting to see what Oshaki was doing, was landing some good, clean shots there in the first few rounds and things like that. And so he kind of like took advantage of Foster, not really gauging the proper range and where Nova was going to be at around the ring, So I felt like Nova, kind of like had majority of those first few rounds there, and it took until around round five, like I was telling him or telling Foster, like round 5 for him to get the timing down and for him to be more successful with the counter shots.
Right. He, now I agree with you, my brother. He definitely took the time with that. He started off a little later than what I thought he was gonna do. He didn't start to really pick up that pace till like the end of the fourth round, and then the fifth round you can see like whatever his corner told him. At the end of that fourth round, he started to put it into play. He started to assess it. He was playing a little cautious because Nova is taller, not by much, just a little bit taller, and he's got more length. He's got more reach. He's a little bit more of the linkier fighter in the size of the two. So I think he was just playing that. With Nova, what was his game plan was apply the pressure early. So they applied that pressure early, and they stood on like they stepped on the gas right off of round one, and was applying the pressure and making O'Shaquie kind of fight on the back foot in the first half of the fight. He had to do a lot of the fighting on the back foot. He was getting pushed up in the corner a lot of the times. Most of the time, O'Shaquie likes to fight in the center of the ring, which he excels more. Fighting in the center of the ring, not getting trapped into the ropes in the corner. And Nova was trying to really push that pace to do that. But once that fifth round hit, O'Shaquie and his team made the adjustments, and then they started realizing, okay, he's going to start tiring out. And they started shifting, using that right, going to the body a little bit more, closing that gap and making that taking that long range game away from Nova a little bit. And actually, instead of him being more the aggressor, O'Shaquie turned it up. And it was a very good fight, man. I enjoyed that fight. I believe it was round 8. I think it was 8. You and I was talking, and O'Shaquie caught him with a good shot, and he stumbled him. He stumbled Nova, and I'm like, oh man, is this going to be like Robeisy all over again? But he didn't finish his food. Like we like to say at Four Corners, yo, finish your food. He stumbled him. He wobbled against the ropes, and instead of him just going to apply the pressure, he's already against the ropes. He kind of hesitated, like he fainted, and then tried to go back. But by that time, Nova already kind of got his composition back. He started to get, his mind back in the game. Like, oh, I got rocked. Okay, he got dinged up. Okay, let me get back to it. And he held him, like a veteran fighter would do. He held him, give himself more time, get his coherence back. And I think if Shockey would have did that, that would have definitely been a early change in how this fight would have played out. And it probably wouldn't even went to 12, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I thought, when Foster wobbled Nova at that time, that he would try to, take advantage of him and try to overwhelm him, pretty much like how he tried to do in the Rocky Hernandez fight in the 11th round before he was able to eventually finish him off in the 12th. But he just, backed off and then, gave Nova some room to, kind of like catch his breath up a little bit. And then if he still felt like he had trouble, then he initiated the clinch in there. So that kind of like bailed out Nova at that particular point. But at that time, you seen Nova, like his overall energy started to wear down over the course of those rounds. And you seen like a lot of the times he was throwing like arm punches. His movement wasn't as well as it was within those first 6 rounds. And I think that, Shockey Foster was able to take advantage of that. Well, he was, throwing, a couple of shots at a time, but he was throwing more meaningful shots. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I also felt like his jab was a lot crisper over the course of the fight, too. So that's why, after about 8, 9, 10 rounds, I had him with a comfortable lead to that.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree with you on that because, Nova used a lot of his. He didn't reserve. He actually overdid it, overextended himself with a lot of the power he was trying to throw in the first half of the fight. He was throwing a lot of shots, and a lot of the shots he was throwing, he was trying to, catch them with bad intentions to O'Shaquie, but he wore himself out. And when it got to that second half of the fight, going on round 6 and beyond, you started to see it. You started to see it in his legs. I started noticing how he was going back to his corner. He was breathing heavy, breathing out his mouth. Like, that's a sign. When a fighter's breathing out his mouth real heavy through the mouthpiece, he's exerting a lot of energy. He's starting to burn down. He's tired. His fatigue is starting to kick in. And that was starting to happen with him. And he tried to go for the home run a lot of the times, but to Shaki's defense, man, his defense, woo, he's very underestimated about his defense. People, he has really
Yeah.
good defense. He got the shoulder roll. He knows how to position himself. He knows how to roll out of situations. Like he was doing a lot of that when it would seem like it was gonna get like Nova was gonna really try to apply that pressure because like he was a big, he did look a little bigger that night. He did look big.
Yeah.
You know, when he felt like that, look, he was trying to hold him up. And when the referee, shout out to Willis, great refereeing job because he let the guys fight. Old school style fighting, let the guys fight. Nothing illegal, no hits behind the head. And when guys are trying to do that, he definitely cleared that up quickly. Guys are just doing the old school fighting, holding in, tangled up, uppercuts, body shots, uppercut, body shots. It was pretty much like what guy's will is going to be broken first. And I love that style of fighting. I loved it. Oshaki turned it up, man. Second half of the fight, he started to let all of that energy that he held in, because he was letting Nova throw a lot of those shots, and you said it yourself, my brother. A lot of shots wasn't landing. It wasn't clean shots. Oshaki threw a lot of more clean shots. And what I saw, and I judged it, he threw a lot more cleaner shots. He threw a lot of more efficient power punches too. He threw a lot more efficient power punches, and that started to wear Nova down. And the 8th round was a prime example. And when Oshaki rocked Nova, when he clamped them, you started to see the fatigue kick in. And after that, he was kind of pretty much like trying to survive the championship rounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
A lot of holding he was doing towards the end.
Yeah, it was a lot of holding, but like you said, with Steve Willis there as a referee, you really didn't see like a little action over that, because it's like he said, you know what, you try to work out of it. He didn't step in and say break or anything like that. He just allowed them to work through all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shout out to Gomez there in the building, man. He says, what ring general requires a 22-foot ring. Bangers and brawlers are better off an 18-foot ring. Yeah, either like, 18 to 20 or something like that, when they're kind of like, in a, pretty much in close quarters. When you have like a 22-foot ring, that's usually for guys that move around the ring a lot. Or for me, at least, it's for like, I would say guys in higher divisions, anything above welterweight or like 154, like
the heavy hitters
over, then
you need the space.
Up. Yeah, and you get enough space there. I mean,
you need the space.
But like, guys that are like below 154, like be about like 5'9" or something like that, or below, like you would want a shorter ring, to try to, get more action in there, because like having a 22-foot ring and you're like, what, like 130 pounds, that would make for a real marathon, you know what I'm saying? Like like you don't want to see guys like like Guillermo Rigondeaux going around the ring a lot. I mean, sometimes he has a great, instances of, defense and that type of thing, but other times he'll look like really bad in the fight. You know what I'm saying? So that, that's kind of like what I kind of seen in this fight, was like you had some good, scrapping going on, while you also had some good movement going on at the same time over the course of the 12 rounds.
Right, and it's most definitely. And the thing about it that I really enjoyed from both of the fighters, they went out there, they were performing, they didn't hold back, they pushed to the game plan, they stuck to what works for them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Oshaki knows that he's a late round fighter, championship round, so he knew, listen, when it gets to that 9th, 10th, 9 through 12, look, I'm turning the heat up. This is what I do. I've been here, I've done that, and I've excelled. Nova, like I said, one of the best fights I've seen him fight in a while. He was engaged, he was locked in, he was focused. I just felt like he gassed himself out too early, and I don't know if it had to be more of him being home in New York, wanting to make a statement, plus letting people know him being at the 130 division, like I belong here, like trying to make a statement. But
Yeah.
I like him at 130. I had this discussion with guys. I like him at 130. I think at 130 he will be someone that can go in there and make some really exciting fights happen with the caliber of fighters that are there.
Yeah.
As far as him getting another title shot, that's all based on what Bob Arum is going to do and those guys that are the champs at that weight class. He's already fought one out of the four. You know what I'm saying? So he's still you still got what you got Navarrete, you got Liam. No, you got was it Wilson?
Well, you got Liam Wilson, yeah.
You got Liam, you got Navarrete, and you still got who's the other? I'm missing one.
But that's the thing. You got Liam Wilson against Valdez coming up next month. Navarrete's setting up to have a title fight at 135 against Dennis Berinchik. And I also got to see what's up if they're going to actually make the fight between Albert Bell and Archie Sharp too. That was there. That those guys are like highly ranked in the WBO too. So if they kind of like situate what's going on with the WBO, then maybe you could have somebody like Abraham Nova kind of like position himself to try to go after a world title there as well. So I mean, he's still going to be competitive, but also at the same token, like you could see him in a good contender fight against Rosenkow. That would be a good scrap to see.
Right.
He would still be around there at the 130-pound division to compete for a world title. It was just that he gave a good effort here in this fight against Shaki Foster that said, hey, I could really compete with the top guys.
Because he came in Friday night. If I'm not mistaken, he came in ranked number 7 in the rankings. He's ranked top 10. He's ranked top 10 in that division. So listen, a guy ranked top 10, and you see what he did against the WBC champ in that weight class. Hey, let's get some phone calls. Let's mix it up. Let's give him some shots because he looked good. He looked healthy. He looked comfortable at 130. I just think that him being at home, he wanted to try to hit that home run instead of going for a couple singles and a couple doubles and let him set himself up. But that's you can't fault him for trying to, go out there and handle business. I prefer a guy like that go out there, throw punches, throw shots, try to lay it all on the line, and he comes up short than someone who's a track star and run all night and is calling themselves the best in this division. I'm the face of boxing. Like all these other tactics that some of these guys try to put themselves out there. I prefer that. You know what I'm saying? A guy who's willing to go out there and actually entertain and put it on the line. So shout out to Abraham Nova.
Yeah, he really did make a good effort of himself in that particular fight. It got to the scorecards, went through the full 12 rounds, but it was very key there in the 12th round that that Oshaki Foster was able to land a shot and score a knockdown on Abraham Nova. Nova thought that he had slipped in that one, but
that was a clean shot. That was a clean shot. And I'm glad that you brought that up because someone said to me, "Oh man, he slipped." I said, "No, it was a clean shot." And then someone else told me, "Oh, but Oshaki put water on the floor, so that's the spot he slipped on." First of all, that's not the spot that Nova slipped at. And second of all, the water that came in the ring was from Nova's team. Yeah, that water that landed in the ring came from Nova's team, from them having the water bottles in there. They dropped the water bottle.
Bottle, basically.
Yeah, which gave Nova more time because prior before that, Nova got his bell rung. So, those are little tactics. Those are old school tactics that happen in boxing. And people got to, pay attention to. Staff, the corners do things too to give their fighter more time if they need it as well. Not just the fighter when they do things like spitting their mouthpiece out and things like that. But
Right.
now that was a clean shot by Foster. He counterpunched, which he was waiting on a lot. He waiting on a lot in the fight, and he caught Nova with a couple shots like that from counter punching. And Nova had a good chin, man. Nova got a good chin. Now I got a question for you, my brother. After observing this fight, because when I saw Foster, two things in this fight. Number one, he fought with a shoulder injury. If you watch what happened, people, he threw a punch. Nova turned to block it, but when he turned, Foster's punch landed and hit him on the elbow. So it popped up. It looked like it was dislocated. Yeah, it looked like it was dislocated because when we noticed when he got in the corner, he was telling his corner, my shoulder, my shoulder. They sat him down and put a huge ice pack on his shoulder. And you watch during the fight, he did a lot. He kept shaking his arm off. That was irritating. So that was number one, that he fought through that pain. Number two, I wanted to tell you, my brother, how long do you think he's going to stay at 130? Because I think it's time for him to go to 135.
Well, he said that at this particular camp, he was having a lot of issues trying to get down to 130, but he also mentioned that he wanted to hire a nutritionist. So he's looking to have more fights at 130 pounds. He'll like a couple more fights at 130, at the very least. I mean, he's just signed with Top Rank. I think that they, wanted to have some plans for him to, not only, have this particular fight, but have a couple more fights, there at 130 pounds against, likes of, maybe the Wilson versus Valdez winner.
Unification.
Or, unification for that. But there might be another thing proposed to him if they could make this fight, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I still think that there's some good fights out there for him at 130 pounds before he would try to move up to 135. So once he figures out what's going on with his shoulder and gets recovered from that, then he'll get right back in the camp and then try to stay around that range for 130 to say, okay, my next fight, I'm gonna have another defense of the WBC title at 130 pounds. Now, my thing is, I'm not sure if they'll have something in store for him to, make another, defense pretty much to that, because currently the top ranked guy that's out there in the WBC right now, he already beat in Yakubov. So he's already beat him. There's, Kosei that's also, there in the rankings as well. So I mean, this could potentially open up for an opportunity for him to have a unification bout. So you do have that out there, man.
No, that's definitely. So
that was the thing that I was going to talk about. It's like, it wasn't even like I think I had we were done with like interview or talk with Oshaki Foster at about I'd say a little bit 12:35 a.m. or 12:45 a.m. or whatever it was, right?
Right.
So everything got settled in and all that type of stuff. And then probably around 3 a.m. or something like that, you had the WBA champion at 130 pounds, pretty much recently crowned Lamont Roach Jr. saying, hey, man, I wouldn't mind, another a fight with Oshaki Foster, because I want to go ahead and take on the top guys, take on the best and everything like that.
Right. And that's who's got the other belt. I can't remember. It's Lamont.
Yeah,
that's
Lamont
the other
Roach
guy.
Jr.
Because he beat Hector Garcia. There you go. I can't remember the other guy.
Yeah. He beat him to get that belt. So it was he got that world title, was able to be, world champion there. And it was just man, they were talking whole lot of smack on Twitter, last night. They're pretty much carried over, pretty much to this thing, man. You know what I'm saying?
They gotta promote it. That they're trying to get that high tension, because Lamont's from where? DC area, right? DMV?
Yeah.
Where's Lamont from? He from DC?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're gonna have the DMV moving out there already heavy, and then you got the support already coming from Foster from the Texas natives. You know how Texas move; they heavy on their guys. So a fight like that could happen, but I don't know if they're gonna make that right away because of the fact that one thing about Bob is gonna make a fight happen that's gonna make sense, that's gonna make money. And with him going to Top Rank, I was we discussed it. Oshaki first signing with Top Rank was an MSG. That's big in itself for you to fight a Masters Garden on your first card with a new big promotion like that. That was testing the waters for Oshaki with Top Rank to see how people would draw to him. It was a packed house. It was a packed house. Tickets were sold out for where they had all the sections open, and you had a lot of fighters there showing support. A couple of celebrities were there showing support, so it was good. Now I think they're gonna try to move him up to get to the unification with a more bigger name, which would be either Liam or either Oscar Valdez or either guys of that caliber to keep building his resume at 130. I think he'll have a unification bout probably within the next two fights. Within the next two fights, he'll have a unification bout. It's just going to be based on availabilities. Whoever the champs are at 130 for the availabilities. And not saying Lamont Roach is not a great fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's a hell of a fighter. I like Lamont Roach. But Lamont is just getting back in that mix again. You know what I'm saying? He's getting back in that mix again to being talked about. So I think Bob is going to work on him Oshaki getting fights where he's going to have a bigger name to draw in that pull. Because we got to remember, people, he's got the green strap. The green strap, WBC, that's the big boy strap in the name of boxing. You know what I'm saying? So that's the money maker. So Bob is very smart. He's been doing this for a very long time.
Almost seems like forever, man. As long as he's been out there, man. Hey, shout outs to Joe, man. Joe, War Week Radio, War Week Boxing is in the building here, giving shout outs to the Boxing Source. Y'all check out War Week Boxing. We have our conversations with Coach Ronnie Shields every Tuesday night over on the War Week Boxing channel. So y'all be sure to check that out too, man. And also
definitely
content on this channel as well, man. But Bob definitely wants to build it up there for Oshaki Foster and potentially if they do have a unification bout. So they want to build the name of Oshaki Foster there. Having a couple of defenses before there's like an opportunity for a unification bout, because coming with the unification like right off the rip there, especially on the side of Lamont Roach Jr., like he hasn't had the first defense of the WBA title yet. So
exactly,
maybe like have something where they could have a double header of sorts, maybe. Where
main event, undercard, for sure.
Something like that type of thing, and then they'll be able to set up that fight for unification at 130 pounds, because you still got like a lot of those other fighters that are out there that could contend for a world title that maybe they want to say, hey, we'll give these guys a shot to face Oshaki Foster or Lamont Roach, and then if they win those two bouts, then they'll have the unification.
And if I was team Top Rank, I'm gonna say this. If I was Team Foster, listen, when that unification bout come about, whoever it may be, this is where you're gonna make the major money at. And I know Bob and his team already think about this possibility in the future. Do it in Texas. Do it in Texas. You do it in Texas, you do it somewhere like the Cowboy Stadium. You do it somewhere, the Texas Stadium, the Houston Texans. Come on, bro. You're going to make a nice amount of money because you got a Texas native, WBC champ. And look, you're gonna have that bread out there that's going to happen. So I know Bob and his team thinking about it. They're going to market Oshaki the right way. They're doing a great job with him, and he's definitely gonna have his time to get that unification. Who would you like to see though, my brother, when that time comes? Who would you like to say, okay, this is your unification bout?
I think it could be those two. Like I said, I got to see how the WBO gets sorted out because you're gonna have that Valdez versus Wilson coming up, and I don't know if they're gonna try to position that to be for the WBO title or not. But if they do, then you pretty much have those two options, and I think what Top Rank does, they're usually associated with the WBO. So they might like have that WBO champion, especially if it's Oscar Valdez. If he's able to, be a world champion once again, they would definitely love to, set that up to see if he could have another opportunity to unify at 130 pounds. Because remember, last time he was unsuccessful against Shakur Stevenson. So if he's able to, against Wilson, and that, eventually becomes the thing for the WBO belt, then maybe they have a shot to do a unification there before they would consider like having someone like Lamont Roach Jr. come in and then try to set that up. So that's what kind of like happened there at 130 pounds. So I think we had like another fight that was at 130 that was part of the co-feature bout. But I'm gonna table that for now and go to the first. Like real, I'm gonna table that for now and go to what like a lot of those fans over at the theater were waiting for, and that's Bruce Carrington in the building. Shoo was in there against Bernard Torres, and that was there the featherweight division. A lot of people were waiting for him to come out and show out, and he definitely was able to do that. Landed a double right hand. Last one put Torres to the canvas for good, knocked him out, and you got Bruce Carrington now at 11-0, and he won a few those intercontinental belts at featherweight, and it looks like he's shooting up the featherweight rankings real quick, man. I mean, even at the time he was already at number 8 in the WBO rankings, so they're really pushing for him to climb up those ranks, and I'll be interested to see what they're going to do for him next as far as like what would happen here in 2024, because it almost looks like he's on a quick path to fighting for a world title by I'd say the start of 2025.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I said I see Shoo getting a title shot. I said this about 2 fights ago. And I might have to now, after that fight that happened Friday, I got to probably move it up now. I said he was going to get a title shot between 24 to 30 months. Now I see him getting a title shot between 12 to 16 months, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just because of what he's bringing and the attraction that he's built, and he's performing. Like, he's getting better as he goes along.
Yeah.
And he made ESPN top 10 that night. Like, he made the ESPN top 10 for the highlights, and he came in at number 2 of all the sports in the world that went on.
Yeah,
he came in at number 2.
Yeah,
he came in at number 2 for the ESPN top 10 highlight. So it was crazy. Shout out to his opponent, Torres from the Philippines. Good fighter. Very crafty on his feet, fast. You could tell he's got some hands, because he was not playing around with Shoo. Shoo had to really work and counter and break him down. But he picked it up and he got the assignment and the breakdown quick on him. And and it's funny because I love watching. We didn't get to hear the announcer because we were live at the fight. But when I got home, I watched the Top Rank highlight on Instagram, and you can hear the announcers, because I think it was maybe 30 seconds left going in the fight. He knocked them out. Yeah. And I think 10 seconds left in the round, something like that. And you can hear the announcers, man, this is a good round. Man, Shoo's putting on a good. Oh, there he goes. There go Torres. Announcers crack me up, because they always get ready to make a statement about a fighter. and then
Yeah.
instantly it's over.
Yep.
I remember
I
when
think that
Tank fought Santa Cruz. Oh man, Tank
Yep.
is catching a rider. Boom! Oh no, God!
Oh,
There
the
goes Santa
Mamma
Cruz.
Mia. Yeah. Yep.
Bro,
Yeah,
it never
that's
fails.
Mario Ronaldo that was on that call there for that Tank Santa Cruz fight. But
Yeah.
yeah, they have those guys over at Top Rank that have some highlights too, and for
Timothy Bradley, man, he
to
was
pull that
hilarious.
knockout was huge. Yeah, Tim Bradley be out there with it, man. But yeah, for a character to score that knockout, that was huge for him. For it to be put on ESPN's highlights for like top 10, ESPN top 10, that was definitely huge for him as well, man. But like Carrington said after the fight, it's like every time he's in Brooklyn on the new area, there's a fight over there. He shows out, So
And
that
he,
was big for that. What was that, like his seventh? I think it was like his seventh stoppage victory. There, but he's had like a few of those. I think it's been like 4 of the past 5 fights he's had a stoppage victory. Like last time he was at the theater, he had a stoppage victory. That was like at the end of the fight. And I was over in Newark for his fight against Brandon Chambers, last year, where he got the stoppage in that one. That was like in 2 rounds too. So he's really building, building a following out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he don't last too long. He don't last too long out there. In the tri-state area, like you said, Jersey and New York City, and in the Garden for sure. It's something about fighting in Madison Square Garden that's electric. And for Shushu, he's he's like Con Edison right now over there. He's like nonstop, man. Like, he's electrifying.
Now I'm not sure if they said something about him getting right back in the ring soon or not, but they were, they're really, excited for him. I mean, even at this point, like think about it. He's had, man, I'm gonna go from the beginning of this year. I mean, in the last year, right? He's had 5 fights. He had 5 fights in 2023. 5. And the last one was, in December, and then he comes back 2 months later for this fight against Torres. I think they said something about him getting back ring in April, and I don't know if it's going to be that April 13th card in Corpus Christi, Texas, or not. But if they put him like right back out there, that would be crazy.
You know who's already on that card? Can you imagine? You got Jared Anderson, you got Bruce Shushu Carrington. You got one more person that just got.
I don't know if they said F.A. Jogba is going to face Luis Ortiz or not, but
that's up in the air at the heavyweight division, bro. Those 3 fight right there. Come on, people gonna buy them just on the strength of Jared Anderson and Shushu people coming. So you build your resume up on that. You throw Emilio Vargas on that card.
Yeah, Emiliano,
Throw Emilio on there. Throw my boy on there. Torres on there, heavyweight. Come on, right? He don't get paid for overtime either. He another one.
Yeah, that only lasted like 30 seconds or something.
And him and Shushu is close too because they won an Olympic team.
Yeah.
So these are
build something that, when we already had the thing with Tiger Johnson. Tiger Johnson was on this card too, and that
was a good performance by Tiger. Easy work.
So he was able to finish off his opponent, like y'all said. He finished his food in that one.
He finished his food, man.
He was able to get it win over Paulo Galdino. So I mean that was good for him. You had like a few other guys that won by decision, a few undefeated fighters winning by decision on there. So that was part of that ESPN Plus card. So
shout out to Alfacio Falcone, man.
Yeah.
Our boy Alfacio Falcone from the Bronx. He got a unanimous decision. Now he's 11-0
out there. Yeah. So he was able to get that win over Ed Ceballos. So he had a good showing there. Isaiah Flaherty had a good showing there in his win over Julian Baptiste. I I thought they would have got like a close to a stoppage to me because that piece, even though he had like the almost like the physique, like strong fighter there within the middleweight division, you really didn't see any pop behind his punches over the course of that whole fight. You know what I mean? So
And that catch
yeah,
up with you later when you start fighting better fighters. When
yeah,
you know how it is when you get up to
especially
them
the
big
middleweight
boy weight
division.
classes. When you get to them big
Yeah,
boy weight classes and you ain't got no pop to keep them dudes from pressing up on you, yeah, you're gonna become lunch meat.
yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And oh, what was the thing? Oh, I was looking up the joint. Jared Anderson, man. They said he's fighting Riyad Mary on April 13th. So I was like, yeah, I know that some folks were saying like maybe he should go up against Michael Hunter. I was like having other, fighters as potential opponents for Jared Anderson, but yeah, they said it's Mary, excuse me. Who defeated Tony Yoka by a decision win. So that's the thing about it is like they rate Jared Anderson at like a top 10 heavyweight,
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
ranked on the
facing like,
heavyweight.
yeah, he's facing like God Mary potentially there on the April 13th card, and I'm like, man, if you're a top 10 guy, there's a whole lot of other fighters that you could be facing out there, particularly in the heavyweight division where you got other contenders like like I said, I mean, they could put probably Jermaine Franklin. They could have, had Jermaine Franklin out there, to face him, or Ajit Kabiya that was coming off of his win, his big win in December. So, like a lot of these guys you could be facing that, could potentially prepare you for that eventual time that you're going to challenge for a world title. It's almost like, they want to bring them up really slow, in this thing. And I talked with his trainer, pretty often, and he said like in the past that they want to, bring up Jared Anderson fairly slowly, but like some of the stories that they say like behind the scenes as far as like him being that guy that's next up. If he's that guy that's next up, then they got to put him in those like particularly fights where he could show that he's among one of the best. Like that fight against Charles Martin. Yeah, you did have some moments where it looked like he was having some trouble, but he was still able to weather the storm and be able to have a better performance or a better showing there against Charles Martin. So you would want to have more of those fights where he, could say, hey, I'm one of the better contenders at heavyweight. And it just seems like as of right now, they're not kind of putting him at that position to eventually be that guy. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing you definitely got to watch out for. But that's mainly what we had as far as like that fight card that took place, and the other stories that were going out. I know that y'all were able to talk with I think y'all were able to talk with them. I was able to talk with them. Keyshawn Davis, the businessman, Keyshawn
The
Davis.
businessman.
Of course, we had his showing against Jose Pedraza. A couple of weeks back, that was on that Thursday card with Teofimo Lopez headlining against Jermaine Ortiz. And we know about the conversation that happened, before that fight. And so that's the thing there that kind of is pretty much one of the stories out there in boxing is that Keyshawn has been calling out Teofimo Lopez, and he made it pretty much emphatic there while at Madison Square Garden. And even there was like even a brief moment where both of them crossed. Teofimo Lopez was there as well, but they crossed paths and everything like that. And
Yeah, if you call it that.
Y'all check out what Keyshawn is saying. Like in the interviews, he's saying, "Look, we've been over there at Top Rank office over in Las Vegas. We talked multiple times over." We said like, hey, you said that I'm a guy that said that I'll challenge anybody or I'll take on anybody. Well, hey, I'm calling you out and I'm saying, look, I want to fight you. So it's like, hey, I mean, is it something where it's like possible or anything like that for these two guys to face each other? I know that Keyshawn has only had like, 11 pro fights or whatever it is, 11, 12 pro fights. He's been there around the 135-pound division. While, you have, Teofimo, that's been a 2-division world champion, has currently the WBO title at 140 pounds. And, after that win against Jermaine Ortiz, at least for me, I really don't see like any potential opponents out there at 140, at least right now. So what would be the potential of that fight happening? Like, I think it's like way out there. Like would Bob Arum and the guys over at Top try to make that match up, later this year or something like that? I really don't see where that's happening. You know what I'm saying? I didn't necessarily bring this up with Keyshawn when I had the conversation with him, but in the last episode of 15 Rounds of Boxing on the Four Corners Boxing YouTube page, I talked about it. I was like, Keyshawn Davis versus Ray Murataya. They're both there 100 pounds, right? So why not go ahead and make that fight? And I mean, y'all say, okay, yeah, Keyshawn and Teofimo's there at Top Rank, but also Keyshawn and Ray Murataya is there. So why go ahead and see about making that particular fight? I know Keyshawn said, in my conversation with him that like everybody's out there that's calling him out. He's not calling anybody out with the exception of Teofimo Lopez, but you still have those good fights that are there at 135 that you could make happen. You know what I'm saying? So why not Raymond Murataya? Because I think that the chances of Keyshawn Davis fighting Teofimo Lopez is just about the same as Teofimo Lopez facing Terence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? So that's like in reference to that, man. Real quick, the thing with Matt Gomes saying that as far as like Jared Anderson and Zhang, like Zhang has that fight against Joseph Parker coming up on March 8th, man. That's a big
Zhang. Yeah, Zhang's already got Zhang's already locked in with the deal. We had his promoter, his advisor, Tommy Lane, one of the sons of legendary Hall of Fame referee Judge Mills Lanes. His son was on our show, and we got to talk to him about that. Zhang is actually locked in March 8th against Joe Parker. They're going to be fighting over in Ryder. Shout out to your excellence, Turkey, Ala Sheik. He's making fights happen, and they're over there fighting over there for that fight.
He's talking like a promoter too.
Yeah, he definitely. He been studying. He been studying the U.S. promoters, man, and he talking the talk. So far, he's providing. He's backing it up. So far, he's put on some pretty decent, pretty good card. I ain't gonna say decent. He's put on some pretty good cards in the small time frame they've been promoting boxing over in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So yeah, he's definitely put this together, man. Like I said, they got that Joshua Ngannou main event there, and with Joe Parker going
that's
up
the
against
co-main.
Yeah, that's the co-main. And that's huge. They should make those fights happen. But I think he's out there to try to put those fights together at the heavyweight division that some folks really couldn't put together elsewhere. So he has that undisputed fight supposed to be coming up in May 18th, supposedly. So props to him. He was able to make that heavyweight card that had 6 heavyweight fights on it there in December. That was big, so I give props to him. Maybe they'll have more things going on with that later on down the line. He said he's eventually having that fight. Was it they're trying to make undisputed at light heavyweight too. Better be it versus Bivol. So we'll still have to see how that goes, man.
Yeah, that's going down already. What's that going down? Is that May? No, June 1st. I think that
June
fight is
1st is
scheduled, right? June
yeah,
1st.
yeah,
That man,
yeah,
that's one
June
of the
1st.
most exciting fights I'm waiting to see. I've been waiting for this
Mhm.
fight for so long, man. I've been waiting for this one like Crawford and Spence. But
Yep. Yeah,
unfortunately with that one, I already know that fight's gonna look one-sided.
yeah, yeah. So, I'm looking forward to see what happens there with that light heavyweight title fight and everything too. So, props to Turki Al Sheikh for making those things happen because like I said, if it ain't happening anywhere else, then when would it even happen, or if it was going to happen at all? So, like thing with Fury and Usyk, like they didn't really have like any spot where they said that they were going to make it happen. So Turkey said, "Hey, I'll put up what I need in order to make the fight happen." Same thing here with Ball and Beterbiev. Like, I mean,
The,
even though it was for undisputed, it's not like they would want to have a fight in the U.S. Like, who was interested in the fight in the U.S. or anywhere else? You know what I'm saying? So for him to like put that together, like props to him. You know what I'm saying?
right. And I'm glad that you brought that up because it's a bittersweet moment that just hit my boxing soul that you mentioned Fury and Usyk because we was gonna have Friday night those Shaki and
Mm-hmm.
Nova, and then the
Yep.
next day Saturday was supposed to be Usyk and Fury. Do you understand? We would
Sure.
have had
Yep.
two good fights this whole week. Oh
Good
man,
things. Yeah, we would have been able to talk about that. So yeah, man, that really had me disappointed that it wasn't able to take place. You know what I'm saying?
now we
So
got to do it in May, and they doing it what May 18th is the new date.
mhm.
That's
Yep.
not Mother's Day weekend, is it? I
I
hope
don't
not.
know, man.
If it is,
I
some
thought
of these
Mother,
mamas is gonna have an early present because people gonna try to get in the
well,
house.
I mean, yeah, but that'll be on the Saturday, so they
Yeah,
won't
that's
have.
they fighting
So
over there, so that's gonna be early. So
yeah,
we're gonna get that
and it's going to be early over on this side too. So we won't necessarily have to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? So there was that, man. There was also some other action that happened on Friday, man. That I was able to like I had missed out on at least live. You know what I'm saying? You had like the Showbox card. They had fights
Ah,
on Showbox, and I think it was like something on the zone too. So I wasn't able to catch all of that type of stuff, man. That was it was like a real lot of action. Usually the thing there with Pro Box, they usually have those joints on Wednesday nights, and
early.
Wednesday
You
night
get to catch
was
them
like
on.
February 14th, so they had to move it to Friday this time around. So yeah, I missed all of that joint with I think they had like Jilshawn James was in action there. I forgot what it was. They had like a good co-main in that particular fight card as well, man. But I think it was like Ramon Cardenas was able to stop Israel Picasso in that one. But they be having some good fights over there in Plant City for the Pro Box. So for those that are able to check out on Pro Box TV, that's a good little look for them on that, man. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big props there, man. Yeah. Rest in peace to Carl Weathers. Yeah, man. Of course, y'all know him in the Rocky movies as Apollo Creed. Former football player, was on the Raiders in the NFL. Had multiple movie roles, not just with the Rocky movies, but other key roles as well in the movies too. So he was and he was definitely a big boxing fan as well. So rest in peace to Carl Weathers, man.
There is no
Which
tomorrow. There is no
what's that?
tomorrow, boxing source.
Yeah,
There is no tomorrow.
yeah,
Shout
for
out to
sure.
Carl Willis, man.
Remember that line, man. Definitely remember that line. What other things or what other events you looking out for? I know that you had what it was from last weekend. Folks was talking about the little confrontation between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney that was out there for that Super Bowl media
The,
day and everything
the
like that.
script,
Yeah,
the,
pretty
the
much the
script
script. Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
listen. That's all part of Bill Haney and his camp and Ryan and Ryan and his promoters. They doing their job to bring interest to the fight. That's gonna be a good fight. I think that's a fight people don't want to sleep on. Don't underestimate it. Um, Ryan's got a shot. Ryan's got a shot based off their history from each other. They're both from the amateurs. Ryan's won 3 matches. Devin's won 3. So this is the game 7. This is I like to say, in the words of Martin, with the Tommy Hearns episode, the brawl for it all. This is where
yep.
it counts the most. You know what I'm saying? And this is it right
Mhm.
here. Um,
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a good one. Devin, he's experienced. He's feeling comfortable at 140, but Ryan, you don't have no excuse. You're not weight drained,
mhm.
as you say. You're not under any crazy obligations under contract where you can't do this and can't do that. You at 140, so you should feel comfortable at this weight. Now it's just to see if you're gonna be mentally prepared and mentally
Yeah,
ready. Because that's the
yeah,
thing about Ryan. Is he talented? Absolutely. Can the kid box? Yes. But is he mentally tough? That's where his breakdowns happen. That's when he's been
right.
known for pulling out of fights and withdrawing out of fights. And that is leaving a bad taste in the mouth of boxing fans. He's not
And
reliable. So
right. Hey, Matt Gomez says that Ryan isn't bipolar; he's multipolar. I'm like, geez, man, damn,
damn, multipolar.
damn,
That's
he's
more than
multipolar.
that's more than two. Your
Yeah,
boy got like 6, 7
yeah.
personalities in there.
Man,
But
yeah, 6 or 7, man. I mean,
6 or
like I
7.
said in the initial thing when it was announced, I said, this is going to be the one where Ryan has like a lot of eyes on him, a lot of pressure on him because yeah, it's going to be a full year after he lost to Tank Davis in that fight in T-Mobile Arena, but it's also going to be his second fight with Derek James. And
Exactly.
we saw what happened, with Derek James. He was like at a high on the previous year was 2022. He had a lot of his fighters be very successful. And then in 2023, a lot of the
So,
fighters that he had were not successful.
yeah,
So
he had
now
a
it's
yeah.
like, okay, here this is. He has to, make a response as far as like his fighters and what they're going to be able to do this year. You have Ryan Garcia in this fight against Devin Haney. Frank Martin said that he has something coming up. I think it's going to be pretty big. Hopefully, it's something that I've been pretty much calling. Like I've kind of like called the prediction for about a month or so. So
Oh, I've been
hopefully,
calling it for
it's
longer, and
going
I
to
know
come
who
to
you talk
fruition.
about.
Yeah, yeah,
You talk
yeah.
about you talk about you
So
talk about our boy from Skull Island.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
all we gotta say.
So yep. So if we get that now, another
oh, I'm
real
out there.
huge thing. Oh yeah, for sure. And that'll be another real big event for Coach Derek James should be involved in. So we got to see if he's going to be able to step up and have his guys mentally and physically prepared for these high profile events. So we'll see how
Right.
that goes out there for Ryan Garcia on April 20th. Shout out to Android in the building. He says it's been a weird year so far in boxing with no PBC schedule. It always feels like something is missing. Hope we get some
Yeah.
announcements. He said maybe a blessing in disguise would have been lost on All-Star weekend. Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, I've seen some reports that they might have some more things coming up for PBC in the near future. Of course, they had a thing set for March 30th in their Amazon Prime pay-per-view with Keith Thurman and Tim Tszyu. You have a few of the fights that are part of that card as well. So, of course, Rolly versus Eastside Cruz is on there, which you got the Erislandy Lara fight. He's going to have that mandatory defense of that WBA middleweight title against Michael Zarafa as well. So, and also Elijah Garcia is going to be involved in that fight card, but that'll be part of the free portion of the program that's going to be at 6 o'clock. So you're going to see some good action on there. as well. So definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, with PBC not really having like a set amount of events out there that folks are looking forward to, it's almost like seeming like something's really missing. Because I don't think even with all the events that Top Rank has had, and they're usually consistent in what they do. There's nothing like really big that comes out of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like folks are just waiting on what PBC has in store as far as like other upcoming fights are coming up. But I feel like there's like a good amount of stuff that people will get excited about. It's just that once everything is finalized and they'll announce it and be able to present it in a good fashion there. But yeah, outside of that, man, there's a couple of other things coming up. What is it? Edgar Berlanga's supposed to have a fight.
Edgar Berlanga fighting next. Edgar Berlanga's fighting on the 24th at Caribbean Royale, in Orlando, Florida. That's that is actually that spot is actually picking up heat, man. They've been holding some good fights in that one. That's actually becoming a nice little local spot that is putting on good fights for these big promotion companies. And Matchroom and DAZN is starting to use that spot and capitalize on that heavy. So that's actually going to be a new place that they've partnered up with. I've seen a couple of fights that they've had there with them.
Yeah. Yep. So you're going to have some good fights there on DAZN on Saturday with Edgar Berlanga against Patrick McCoy. You're going to see Andy Cruz in action on that card against Brian Rodriguez, and Shakam Diashov is going to be facing Pablo Cizco. But I'm also looking to see, and I don't know if it's gonna be on like TV in the States or whatever it is, but there's gonna be 3 world title fights over in Tokyo. One with Takuma Inoue versus Yuran Ancajas for the WBA bantamweight title, and then Alejandro Santiago versus Junto Nakatani for the WBC title. That's the one I'm gonna be watching out for. Of course, Santiago had the win there against Nonito Donaire to get the WBC title, and Junto Nakatani is coming up to bantamweight in order to challenge for that belt. And Nakatani had one of the knockout of the year candidates last year, man. Pretty much got
Jason Maloney.
Yeah.
That was against Maloney, brother. Yeah, that was nasty.
That
was nasty. That was a knockout of the year candidate for sure.
Yeah. And Kode Tanaka will face Christian Bakasega there in the junior bantamweight division. That's for the WBO junior bantamweight title there. Sebastian Vendora is also part of that March 30th pay-per-view, where he's going to be fighting for the WBC title there at 154 pounds. Yeah, man. He said that was BS. They had the whole little situation with Fedora. He was, the WBC interim champion until he lost to Brian Mendoza. And, before Mendoza had the fight locked in with Tim Tszyu, they had a rematch clause for Fedora Mendoza. And so since they didn't really activate that and Mendoza fought Tim Tszyu and ended up losing, Fedora ended up getting, this pretty much most of the status back, even after coming off of a loss. So with him having the fight that he has coming up, that was originally slated for an eliminator bout, they, ended up having that as a, now for the vacant world title, as they say, Mel has basically given up that title, or he's pretty much champion in recess. So that's why you have Sebastian Fedora going up against.
Why Mel gave that? You know why Mel giving them belts up? You know why, my brother? Them sanctioning fees add up, baby.
They do add up. Them
sanctioning fees add up, and people don't understand that. And when you become undisputed, it comes with a cost.
Yeah, and the other thing for me, man, I think he does. I think he still has an outside shot facing Terence Crawford next, because I don't think that there's many options out there left for Terence Crawford outside of a rematch with Errol Spence and
which is not
Jermell
happening
Charlo.
from what WBC said officially. Mauricio said that there's not going to be no rematch with Crawford and Spence anytime soon. So come on, we might just get that one fight and call it a day, because Crawford is at the page where he's aging himself out, and he's like, yo, he's not going to be in this game forever, you know.
Yeah,
and I'm not mad at him.
Yeah, he's gonna be aging himself out and pricing himself out in a sense, because I mean the Canelo bout is out of the question for him. You know,
yeah,
so
Canelo said that already.
Out of the question. They're not interested in fighting Jerome Businis. Then what other options do you have? Like, you're gonna wait to see if Tim Tszyu beats Keith Thurman and fight Tim Tszyu? Like, well,
that's gonna be trash. That's not even worth it.
Yeah, like I mean, a lot of people aren't really looking forward to that Tim Tszyu versus Keith Thurman bout, and that's something that's gonna be a determining factor as to Tim Tszyu being a viable opponent for Terence Crawford. So if that particular fight isn't successful, then they're not gonna entertain that there for Terence Crawford. So then who else do you have? You have Jermell Charlo, and that's pretty much it. You know.
And you got to remember, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, this is the money game. So the money game is the promoters spend a lot of money. They got to make back profit. So you're not going to make no profit back on fighting Tim Tszyu. You're not going to make no profit back fighting a Keith Thurman. You're going to have to make your profit back on a guy like a Canelo, on a Spence, on a Boots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna have to fight one of these guys, but on the other end, when you somebody like Canelo, who called the shots, who's been at this, doing this so long, listen, this is what a negotiating happens. And this is what boxing is at, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about the money game for a lot of these guys when they get to a certain level. They're not fighting for 5,000 no more. They fighting for 15+ million. You know what I'm saying? And if the numbers ain't looking good, they're not even gonna interest to have a meeting for it. So that's the part where we standing at with boxing right now. A lot of it is going out the window where guys want to fight the best for the best, and they put that zero on the line, and they're gonna go out there and scrap, win, lose, or draw. That era is gone. That 80s era, 90s era is done. Now you got guys. I hate to say it, but this the Money Mayweather era. Yo, I'm a prize fighter. I'm supposed to get paid. I'm putting asses in seats. I want to get paid. Some guys is doing it without. Some guys are doing it and got the blueprint without getting any belts, and they the top of their game, making millions and millions. You got some guys that can't do that. They got to take the route where they got to get a title or get unifications or get undisputed, and they still not even hitting 10 million.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Matt Gomez. He had a suggestion, man. Jerome Businis versus Herschel Ortiz if he can't get a bigger name. Well, I mean, we were thinking that would have been
a great fight. But Virgil can't say he moved up
at 147.
It ain't gonna happen.
Ortiz can stay there.
Who's got to move up to 154?
Yeah. So he ended up moving to 154, and he's having those fights at 154. Now with Virgil Ortiz, now there's potential fights out there for him at 154. You know what I'm saying? They recently signed Golden Boy recently signed Charles Conwell. So I'm thinking that maybe they're trying to maneuver that particular fight to happen here later this year. I know that Ortiz's manager said that they were trying to get him back in the ring in May. So I don't think a fight with him and Charles Conwell will happen by that time. But I still see that could be a fight down the line there for Virgil Ortiz Jr. But yeah, him and Businis, that's not necessarily going to happen, particularly with Businis, likely having his next bout in May. Like initially they said it would be against Mario Barrios, but now recently, as of a couple of days ago, I has ordered Boots Ennis and Cody Crowley. And the thing about it is that particular fight that was supposed to be slated for last year, like around November or December of last year, and Crowley wouldn't necessarily go for it. So, and that was like before, Boots Ennis became the full IBF champion. Now that he's the full IBF champion, now it's like, okay, what's out there, for Boots Ennis. And I think the best fight at this time right now is against Mario Barrios at 147. If it's not against like what is it? Who would I say? Iamana Stanionis. So, we'll see how that is, man.
He's another one that's on the missing. Put him on a milk carton as well, man. Have you seen this guy? He's another one. Stanionis been gone. He got to get active too. You got to get active too.
As of a couple weeks ago, that he said he got something coming up. So, I mean, some of these folks saying, "Hey, we got something in. We got a fight lined up." So, who are these guys?
Well, I would love to see that haymaker thrown in there, and they say they got a fight coming up, and Stanionis to say, "Okay, my fight is against Boots." I would love that.
That would be crazy, but I could talk to a couple of folks, and they would kind of tell me if it was or if it wasn't.
But I already know the outcome of that. You thought Villa looked bad. I'm gonna just leave it as that. You thought the Villa fight was bad, and I was there in Atlantic City for that. Listen, Stanionis, you're a good fighter, but it's levels. Against the Boots, you need the cheat code.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, shout out Boxing Academic is joining us here. Conversation, man. I know Boxing Academic has been back and forth. I don't know if he got around my side or not, man, but I wasn't able to catch up, man. What's up, Boxing Academic?
Not much. How y'all fellas doing?
Good. We all good, man.
Yourself? Yep. Yeah. No, I'm not down there anymore. I'm back in Atlanta now.
Yeah, I know it was like a quick trip, man. So I was able to catch up.
It was a good time though, man. Bay is always a good time.
Word. So I was I was out there for New York for those fights that were there in New York, man. What did you think about those fights in New York that was on Friday night?
Man, I was into too much to even watch them, man. I'm just calling in for more support at the moment.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
I think I did see a couple seconds. I need to watch more of what's the main fighter name that was in the main? Who?
Shaki Foster.
Shaki Foster. I need to watch more of him because I don't want to say stuff off of my maybe lack of knowledge. So I'm gonna have to watch that fight, watch a couple other fights, and just see what he about. It went to a decision, right?
I have to check if if you have the zone, maybe they still have his fight against what was
Hernandez?
Yeah,
the last
Hernandez.
one. You can go on YouTube. They got it on YouTube, I believe. Last time I saw it was there.
They'll have those highlights too for that Rocky Hernandez fight, and then also the fight against Vargas where he won the WBC belt. You'll probably get some highlights of him on that, but. We pretty much say like he has a good mixture of offense and defense. Like he has those two qualities with him. It was just with Abraham Nova. Nova was doing pretty well in those first few rounds. It was just that he slowed down ultimately at the tail end of the fight. You know what I mean?
The fight ended in decision or knockout.
Decision, split decision in favor of Foster. There I felt like he won. I felt like he won 8 rounds. Of the 12, even though, Nova looked like he was doing pretty good early, a lot of the cleaner shots were coming from Shaki Foster. Especially there watching live, he was, definitely landing the cleaner shots there in that one.
Yeah, I saw it earlier when he was countering.
Right, and I'm glad you said that, Boxing Source, because I have to tell boxing fans, I can't even say boxing fans. Because a lot of people just say they fans and they don't. People that are watching the sport, let me put it that way. When you're watching a fight, just because a guy is throwing a bunch of punches doesn't mean that he's active and he's landing them. Because, I can throw 1,000 punches, but how many, if I throw 20 punches right now, how many punches landed effectively that a judge can score it and say this was an effective punch? And I felt like Nova had that, and a lot of people was getting ooh and ah. And I understand because he's in New York, he has a Hispanic fan base, he's Puerto Rican, and the Puerto Rican fans show up and show out for Puerto Rican fighters. But you got to be realistic with yourself, too. How many of these shots are really effective landing shots to win him the fight? Don't just judge it off of you being a fan. Judge it on being realistic and being from a non-biased standpoint. And a lot of people that watch the sport judge fights being biased instead of breaking it down and really looking at what's being done in the fight.
Yep, for sure.
And that's what happened with him. A lot of people thought he won because he was throwing a lot of punches. But a lot of those punches was getting blocked. A lot of those punches he was actually missing where he was just swinging at the air. And it wasn't effective in the second half of the fight.
Yep. And I thought like, the jabs were like really affecting Nova there, like in the second half. I thought there was like a little bit of bleeding from his mouth that was coming off of that.
He was. You seen the lip? He busted his, blistered his whole lip up.
Yep. So, I felt like, Foster was just very effective throwing and landing the jab, over the course of the bout. So, props to him to, at least have that be consistent. It was just that once he was able to get the timing down with the counter punches, that he was able to have more success on that. You know what I'm saying? So that was the thing, man. Matt Gomez kind of like compared it to the Tim Bradley Manny Pacquiao for the first, and like Manny, missed a lot of shots in that first fight, and that's how Tim was able to get the win, the decision win in that first bout. So it kind of like was it's kind of like similar, to that. You got to be able to be effective in what you're doing, and for me, I just felt like Nova wasn't that effective in what he was doing over the course of the fight. So that kind of like was the difference on that one.
I want to make a point about the Tim and Manny, and also the Adrian Broner and my guy who fought Floyd. He retired. He blew up like a pufferfish. Maidana. Maidana. And so, in both of those two fights, I actually thought Tim Bradley squeaked the win myself in my scorecard. Obviously, Adrian Broner lost the fight against Maidana. But in both of those fights, the commonality in both of those fights was their will to win and their will to not lose, to not let that fight go, even under like certain adversities. Both of them really truly wanted to win, and that's to me the last time that we really saw an Adrian Broner that like was gonna put it all on the line and was like, I'm not finna let this go. You knocked me down, but whatever. And like even with Tim Bradley, obviously the Ruslan-Provodnikov fight kind of probably took that away from him, but Tim Bradley definitely was like putting it all on the line. And so I just wanted to bring up that point because it just randomly made me think of those two fights.
Yeah, particularly with that Adrian Broner fight, because he didn't feel like he wanted to lose that particular bout, and so he went all out, to try to like get back into the fight and try to get the win, and ultimately had him like get knocked down late in the fight, which ended up being the difference there for him. But at least he was able to put up a really good effort in that fight in comparison to like fights against like Mikey Garcia or of course against Manny Pacquiao, where he had that famous line, I beat him, everybody know I beat him, so that was something there. But the thing with Foster, like I felt like he did well enough to get the majority of those rounds to get the win, and he was able to pull off the decision. So we're just waiting to see what's going to be next for him. We kind of like talked about it earlier here, potential unification against Lamont Roach Jr. or have a defense, another defense of that world title, maybe against Robertson Coach Stay-Style, given Coach Stay-Style's performance against Navarrete in his last fight. So,
that's a big dude, bro.
Shout out to Champ Ross in the building. And of course, has a fantasy prediction league that I'm part of there. I'm not, that successful in it, but I still participate. Shout out to him for joining us live here, man. But yeah, that's mainly what I had. I mean, we had of course talking about the thing with Keyshawn calling out Teofimo Lopez. I don't know. There might be a poll question on social media or something like which fight is more likely to happen: Keyshawn versus Teofimo Lopez or Teofimo Lopez versus Terence Crawford. I don't know, man. That would be something that, to kind of like see there. But there really isn't like I said, other action that's coming up. I know that Edgar Berlanga, has a fight against Patrick McCrory over there in Orlando, like the career over there in Orlando that's coming up on Saturday. We got 3 world title fights over in Tokyo on Saturday too. So we got like a few things coming up, man. But just looking forward to I would say like March. Of course, you got Joshua versus Saleh versus Joseph Parker. That's going to be on that card. So
got Raymond Ford fighting for a title.
Yeah, Ray Ford. I think that's May
2nd. Yeah, Top Rank May 2nd. Yeah. That's gonna be in Verona, New York at Turning Center.
Yeah. You got Ray Ford against Odebek Komatov, and you got Luis Alberto as Raya Abe. In that fight card there on ESPN and ESPN Plus. So you got like a lot of stuff going on there.
Floyd Castro Diaz is back in action on that card as well.
Yep, for sure. The champ says Foster seems to be getting better every fight. I mean, I think he's able to, make the proper adjustments. I said I like his trainer there, Bobby Benton. Of course, Benton was instrumental in having Regis Prograis be a 2-time world champion at 140 pounds, but he, has this other world champion here in O'Shaquie Foster that could, kind of like show that he could be one of those better guys there at 130 pounds. So definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to be happening next for O'Shaquie Foster, whether it's, like I said, title defense, maybe against Conceição, or a unification, maybe against Lamont Roach Jr. or whoever's going to be the WBO champion later down the line.
Right, that's a fact. One thing's for certain, Boxing Source, we know you're gonna if O'Shaquie Foster's on the card, you're gonna get your money's worth. That's one thing about him. He's gonna put on a performance, and he's gonna come to fight. He's coming to win. He's coming to win. He's not gonna half step these fights. Not at all. And he critiqued himself in this one. You know what I'm saying? He even critiqued himself on this one, that he felt it wasn't his best, that he felt off, the conditioning, that the weight cut. So us seeing him in that caliber, watching him live, if that wasn't good in his own physical assessment, what is going to look like when he's sharper? You know what I'm saying? That's the part that you got to look back. Guys in that weight class, if that fight he wasn't sharp, what he's going to look like when he's 100%.
Yeah, definitely got to look forward to seeing like how he does, if he's going to be that more of a complete fighter. In that particular instance, like how would he look against fighters of competition, and what he'll be able to do against those guys once he's able to be at full capacity. Brad Gomez brings up Richard Hitchens. He's an interesting fighter there at 140, man. He has, the fight coming up. That's an IBF eliminator. There at 140 pounds. If he's able to, get that win and stay undefeated there against Gustavo Lemos, then he might be next in line to face Subriel Matias if Matias has a fight against Liam Perro in the summer. So
it's a guy at 140 that nobody like mentioning his name, and I get mad when nobody mentions his name at 140 because this dude's I call him the Quiet Assassin. He from your hometown. He goes by the name Gary Anton Russell.
Yeah, yeah,
Why nobody talk
yeah.
about him, man?
Yeah, well, like, I mean, yeah, Matt brought him up earlier in the show. He's like, Antoine Russell can't get a fight. It looks like he can't get a fight. And I'm like,
Listen,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, he had the fight against Kent Cruz, back last year at the MGM here over in the DC area. And he got the, win in the first round. His, main trainer there, Gary Russell, he was saying like, before that fight that Anton was coming off of a shoulder injury and get himself recovered from that. But he should be, back in full strength from that. And I say he should be, contending in this too, man. He's like ranked number 3 in the WBC. So
listen,
they're not.
he's a scary. A lot of people not mentioning his name and his reason.
I know who he should fight. And a lot of people were talking about this. And
let's see if we said this.
At the time, they said that Russell didn't petition for this fight because he said he wasn't quite ready for it, which I kind of feel like that wasn't all too truthful in a sense. I lean more towards him having, that injury that he was recovering from. But this guy's a former champion that, ended up having his belt given. Alberto Puello. Put him in there against Alberto Puello. And then they'll see like why like Puello shouldn't even be in the same
category no more.
Category as Gary Antoine Russell. Like if you're gonna say that Puello, when he was a world champion, was gonna be much better than Gary Antoine Russell, I'm like, nah, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. So they should go ahead and do that because one thing that I haven't seen happen was like Gary Antoine Russell fighting like some of these other guys there that have been contending at 140 pounds, like Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee's there, undefeated there at 140. And
yeah, what happened to him, man? He just went ghost, quiet.
Yeah. So they're not really matching him up with any of those guys either. You know what I'm saying?
Did he lose one of his last fights?
Who? Brandon Lee? No, I don't think so.
It was just
he had a close fight that a lot of people was saying that he lost that fight. I know what fight he's referring to. I don't know if it was his last one or the one before that, but that was still when Showtime was around, and it was a test for Lee. Put it that way. His father was getting on.
The thing is, he like a couple years ago he had the fight against Madera in Hollywood, Florida, where I thought he got knocked out in the third round. He got caught with a big shot in the third round, went down the canvas, and I thought he was done, but he was able to get through that fight and score a decision win. But yeah.
So do you think his boxing skills is really there, or is Brandon Lee overhyped? Let's be honest, because I
at the time I thought he was like a little bit overhyped. Just be honest.
I'm gonna tell you what I saw with him, and I had this, and I'm like, damn, he was going in there killing, and I said, oh, he had that effect. He had the Edgar Berlanga effect. Coming in there, destroying, going through everybody. Remember, Berlinga's the Puerto Rican Tyson, this and that. Then when you start excelling, you start moving. It's like the video game. You're moving up, getting to the better competition. Good. Then it's like Jay-Z said, he's all right, but he's not real. You start seeing the imperfections. You start seeing that certain things was overly hyped. You start seeing that the spotlight was a little too much on him. I feel like that is what occurred with Brandon Lee, because that's the competition they brought to him. He started fighting more challenging guys. His boxing skills started looking mediocre. And that's exceptional from what we saw.
Rounds, you know what I'm saying? But it just didn't like feel like he was ready to be put up there as far as like a serious contender there at 140. You know what I'm saying?
But like I was saying as well, boxing source, when you get up there, right, and when you out there and you beating the Uber drivers, the Uber Eats drivers, the DoorDash drivers, the guy that owns the bodega and convenience store in the corner, that's easy work. But when you start getting up there going against elite guys that are actually at this weight class, guys who might be former Olympians, guys who are former champion, guys who have fought former champions themselves and fought the elite, that power don't be transferring over to some of these guys that can sit there and take that. And I'm noticing that with guys like Belinga, a guy like Brandon Lee. When you're fighting guys that are experienced and seasoned, all of that woo-wah knockout stuff that you was doing doesn't affect these guys because they've been in that. And these are actually guys that are seasoned, and this is their actual weight class. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to really go out there and put a game plan together, box, fight, put it together and put a complete package and just not rely on your power and your bulliness that you used to winning off of. So I'm glad you brought up Brandon Lee because I was like, yo, what happened to him, man? He's been on the shelf too for a while.
Yeah, for sure. Yo, Matt Gomez says Anthony Yard with Berlanga. Yard is in a different weight class. He's up there at like heavyweight, and Berlanga's at super middleweight. Now, Andre would definitely. I don't think he would box circles over, but like he would just take him to school in that one.
People want Berlanga. The next fight I could see happening that'll be big. If Berlanga wins this fight next week in Florida, the next fight I could see happening with him, if a fight don't happen May 4th with Canelo, the next fight I could see happening, which will do pretty good money, will be Edgar Berlanga versus Munguia. Because you got Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Yeah. And you know the history of that.
You know what, man? If Berlanga was a draw, a serious draw, then they would have been able to have that in Puerto Rico weekend. They would have been able to have that fight Puerto Rican Day weekend. That would have been super.
Bro, can you imagine having that fight Puerto Rican Day weekend here in New York City, Madison Square Garden? Come on, they've already had fights when he was with his former promoter. When he was with when he was with Top Rank. Now he's with Eddie. Bro, Eddie likes New York City. Eddie's smart when it comes to making business in New York City. You know what I'm saying? Look what he did with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, one of the top biggest female boxing events ever, and they fought in the big room, the big room. So I definitely agree with you, my brother. That would be an amazing and turnout. That would be packed out, sold out fight. Puerto Rico versus Mexico here in New York City. And don't sleep. Mexico has a big fan base here in New York City too. Because I've seen it here in Madison Square Garden. When the Mexican fighters is there, listen, they show up. They show up too.
Yeah. I was about to say, Berlanga gonna piss a lot of people off in New York because he very likely won't win that fight.
Man, that'll be the champ. But he's called this guy out too, though. He's called Berlanga out. I mean, Berlanga's called Munguia out and said he wanted a Munguia, but Munguia's got his eyes set on one person, and we all know who that is.
Yeah,
he want that. He want the money.
I see. Yeah, you see, he wants the money, and I'm like, that fight is like highly unlikely. And they also like entertained another fight out there at super middleweight for Jaime Munguia, and that is David Benavidez, and I'm like, nah, that ain't all.
Didn't Jaime say no to that?
With Munguia.
Didn't Jaime say no to that?
I think he did. I thought he did.
Bro, he ain't answer. He ain't even answer the text message. He damn sure didn't pick up that phone call.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he answered the text message, man. So yeah, I don't see that fight happening either, man. So I'm like this. Either for Canelo, either he fights Jamal Charlo or David Benavidez in May. And you have, you have Jaime Munguia, like, I guess wait out to see what happens here with this Berlanga fight and say, go ahead and make that, If you could have like if you could have, this joint with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, working to, make this fight happen. Like Golden Boy and Matchroom are gonna have to work together to, fill out that card on April. So why not go ahead and, eventually wait out and just see if Berlanga, if he gets this win against McCoy, comes right back out and fights in June against Hyman McGee. I say, why not go ahead and do that?
If I was Munguia and his team, I'll be getting a flight. We going to Orlando. I'm gonna sit right in the crowd. I'm gonna watch the fight. It turns out Munguia wins. Go in the ring, call him out. No, listen, I want you next. Or if even I ain't even gotta go in the ring and call you out. I'll just make myself present to you, Berlanga. Wave at you. I'm here, and then I know he's gonna want to call him out because he's gonna want that fight. He's been calling it for a while. Let's make it happen.
He's been asking for that. Definitely been asking.
Make it happen. And let's do it in June, like you said, Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend. Listen, that's a big draw.
That'd be wild, man. For sure. What is this? Bat says, Clarissa Shields has lost her mind, but she is entertaining. I guess because she brought up the whole thing with the again. I'm like, come on, man.
That's a whole.
She brought it up recently. She brought it up recently.
Yeah, she did.
She got an MMA fight coming up. She got to worry about that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna waste my breath on her.
She got an MMA fight coming up. She's still trying to make a fight with Christina Cyborg, MMA fighter. Like make that fight happen. Worry about that because boxing really ain't on your mind right now. You're in the MMA world right now. So focus on what you're doing in that training.
You're doing your thing. Yeah, she's doing her thing in PFL right now, and she probably have her best bet, doing that type of stuff because there's like nothing else out there for her in boxing right now. The only thing I'd say is like you ain't gonna face Alicia Baumgartner, so in a rematch with what's her name?
Savannah Marshall.
Yeah, Savannah Marshall. She ain't gonna have a match with Savannah Marshall like that. Like, so you might as well just go ahead and get that MMA thing going and just chill that. You know what I'm saying?
She's not gonna fight Franshaw Cruz because they're cool. She's not gonna fight her for that. So it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
and this is why
the thing is like Franshaw beat Shadeja Green, and folks were saying that Shadeja Green would have been an opponent for Clarissa Shields. See, Shadeja just, she messed up real bad in that fight against Franshaw.
Yeah, so. she didn't know how to cut the ring off. She didn't know how to cut the ring off, and she didn't know how to go out there and capitalize off the game plan.
It didn't like she know how to throw her hands either.
Oh yeah, those things was under arrest. Those things was cuffed.
Like I ain't know what was going down with that. You know what I mean?
And I had Green to be more competitive, but that one there, oof.
Like, I don't. It wouldn't be close in the Clarissa fight. Clarissa just gonna be 10 off on her, especially if she a deer in the headlights like she was in that fight, and maybe the moment was just a little bit too big, and whatever the reason, right? Yeah. But Clarissa just gonna be hitting her and moving.
Yeah, that's gonna be easy work.
Easy work, and then it's gonna make her think she can fight a dude again. Just because she didn't.
See, that's the thing that kills me with that, because there's weight classes for a reason, number one, and there's division between men and women's sports for a reason. And just because you went in there and fought dudes in sparring and it looked good, it's sparring. What do people do in sparring? Sparring is practice. You go in there and work on things that you're trying to get better for a real fight.
And you ain't trying to hurt your sparring partner.
And you're not trying to hurt your sparring partner because that's money. You messing up the money, because when it gets to a real situation, sparring partners talk to each other. Yo, don't go in that camp. Nah, this person be wilding out. You're going to go in there, you're going to get beat up, you're going to get hurt. No. I'm not going in there to be a full punching bag. I'm coming in here to work with you, be professional. So she going in there, letting dudes just going in there, putting in work with her. She coming out victorious. However her mind sees it, she says she's dominating in these sparring matches against guys. Bro, you go in there in a real ring when it's no headgear. It's 8-ounce gloves, not 16-ounce gloves. 10 ounces, 8-ounce gloves. Come on, bro. You're gonna get hurt. Men power and women power are two different things.
It's gonna be
Women power comes from the mouth. Men's power, women power comes from the tongue. God gave them an exceptional power to using the vocabulary and their tongue. They can make a man be like, damn, that hurt me to my core with that little red thing in their mouth, their tongue. Men's power is their physicalness, their physique, and their strength. A guy go in there and fight her, come on, man. It's gonna be all over the news. You're gonna have women protesters across the world.
Man, she gonna go in there and she gonna try to throw 2-3 combos because she like throwing her hands, she like throwing combos, and it's gonna be exactly like that sparring contest.
When he knocked her out.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. She gonna land a few punches on the gloves, and somebody just gonna swing right back with a counter, and it's gonna hit her. She gonna fall down, and then they gonna stop the fight prematurely because they don't want the shit to get worse.
He's there like 160 or whatever it is. Like you have Keith Thurman that was fighting at 147. He'll be above 147 for his fight coming up March 30th. But like fighters at 140, like male fighters at 147, like going up against a female fighter at 160, like come on, it don't even have to be like local level. You know what I'm saying? It'd be domestic level guys at 147 that could just beat her up at 160. So. And it wouldn't be close, That's why you had like it was like one interview that Serena Williams had like where she said like if she went up against like one of those like 100 ranked males in the world that she'd get swept 6-0 because it's like a whole different animal. So I don't know why like Clarissa Shields would like even try to entertain something like that. That's
I don't know.
I do. Clarissa ain't stupid. Clarissa probably talked to Florida, anybody like that who does well. Because think about this. Every time Gervonta Davis have a fight, him and Floyd just miraculously got a problem or something, right? The same sort of thing. I ain't saying that they do or don't have a problem, but I'm just saying, why is it the same thing every time that they got a problem now when he about to have a fight? Maybe that's so. I don't know. But I'm saying she is doing what she wanted to do, which is us talking about her not being able to fight a man by saying she can beat a man. That's all she wants. She just want her name to be relevant before she gets back in the ring because she know good and well, the truth about it. So, I mean, it's smart, I guess.
That's clickbait, man. A lot of them be using that. Like, let me make this statement. A lot of people are going to tune in. I'm going to get like 500,000 views for this statement in this video I got. I talked to Boxing Source. I made this interview with him, and I made a statement. Then I went on Four Corners, and I made this statement. And now between both different companies, I done got 1.5 million views. Like, oh, and by the way, I got a book coming out in June. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's marketing. It's marketing. And I ain't mad at it. Use it. But, realistically, like, don't tarnish. Like what I didn't like about it, don't tarnish what Keith Thurman did. Don't tarnish what that man did, because you don't like when women and people tarnish what you've done in the women's side of the sport. So don't tarnish what that man's done on the men's side at 147, because he put blood, sweat, and tears in, and he got the name one time for a reason. He put on hella fights.
And logically speaking, coming at her 6, 8, whatever many championships is a lot easier if you look at the facts of who she faced and the level of competition that she faced. You could factually talk about like, yeah, you did do it, but it could be viewed as Terence Crawford getting that belt at 140 beating Indongo, which we know wasn't that good. Terence Crawford is the man, but that 140 run wasn't a great run.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But he made up for it 2 times over, like he did what he was supposed to do against Errol Spence. No matter whatever was going on, he still did what he was supposed to do emphatically. And shit, he might do it again with Canelo.
Yeah. I mean, that's still possible out there for Terence Crawford. If he, by any chance does have a fight against Canelo Alvarez. But like you were saying there with the thing with Clarissa Shields, like you definitely don't have that much depth in the women's, divisions or women's boxing like nowhere near compared to like men's boxing. So you having, two-time, being a two-time undisputed champion, there in women's boxing, that's probably, more likely to happen or much more likely to happen there than in men's boxing. Again, men's boxing has a lot, much more people in the sport. It's more difficult to try to arrange these fights, to try to make it happen. Money's involved and all that type of stuff. So, that's the thing about it. So, with Claressa Shields, like she has those accolades and everything from amateurs to the pros, but, at times those things are like, still seem like they could be more attained from that aspect, from men's aspect in a sense. So, with her, she still, has like a couple of things that she has to, go through, take care of, in PFL or whatever it is before she even gets back into the boxing ring. So that'll be way down the line for that. But with that being said, man, that's all I got here for the Boxing Source podcast, man. Big shout out to Maurice Jones here, Four Corners Boxing, joining us here. Like I said, y'all check out Four Corners Boxing on YouTube. They'll have a whole lot of content on there, and of course, they have weekly shows there on Wednesday nights. Usually, it's after the midweek report, so y'all be able to check them out after the midweek report ends. And of course, our guest has been out here for years, the boxing academic out of Atlanta, Georgia, joining us here. So, and big ups to everybody joining live in the chat. Really appreciate y'all for coming in there. We'll be right back at it on Wednesday night for the midweek report. And like I say at the end of every show, folks, the point of boxing is hitting out the stand and trade. On that note, I'm out. Have a good evening, everybody.